Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I will be talking about my brushes and doing a little demo. So let's start with the brush I use the most. It's called Undefeatable Texture Brush. And the reason why I called it that is because it's my go-to brush for basically everything. It's for sketching, for liner, a little bit of colouring as well, and a little bit of blending. So let's show some fun examples of drawings I've done. Here's a drawing I made earlier. So let's talk briefly about all the brushes I use for it. So for the line art, I use the Undefeatable Texture Brush. And when you zoom in, as you can see, there's a little fun paper texture, and the bits where it tapers off, it gets really light like so, which is really fun. So I got this screen tone brush from the True Grit Texture Supply sampler. And it's like a big selection of 3 brushes. They're half-tone a lot on around the eyes and nose. A lot of the shading areas, which you can see here, and also for the fruit. Onto another drawing. So I got a cool question from Grace O about my brushes in my webtoon art style video, and it kind of prompted this video because I've always wanted to talk about my brushes, but I never really got around it. So this is like a good kick up the butt to talk about them. So for this specific drawing, I also used the Undefeatable Texture Soft Brush. So you can see here, when you zoom in, it's got like a paper texture. I also added some scatter settings to it, so it looks quite granular. So it's kind of like how when you're drawing on textured paper, maybe you're using an oil pastel or a pencil, and there's some like dots here and there. So it kind of mimics it a little bit. Because this brush has some color jitter to it, you can see it a little bit here when you zoom in. I'll also show an example with a bright color. I have so many layers. Okay, so look at this pink. If I were to use like this pencil, with the color jitter off, it's all one color. This brush sadly isn't on Clip Studio Assets. I couldn't put it on there. You can just change any brush settings by clicking on this button here. And specifically for this brush, let's say you don't want the color jitter on. So you go to color jitter, you click this button, and boom, no more color jitter. I shall keep it on so I can talk about this lovely brush. So depending on the color you use, there will be slight color jitter. And I think it's really fun because it gives things like a subtle noise, which is really cool. So I like using it a lot. And I used it a little bit for the shading here on the leg. Well, not just the leg. You'll see it a lot here as well. Color jitter. So that's one brush I used. Another brush, so which I'll show you. So I have a multiply layer here, which I set to a gradient. Then when I go here, I use this brush, which is called Oil 9. And to be honest, I don't really know where I got it from. I literally Googled square brush Clip Studio into Google Images, and I clicked on the first one I saw. If I do find it, I will link it. And these two are part of a set. This watercolor brush, it came default with Clip Studio Paint, but I'm pretty sure they don't have it anymore, which isn't fun. So let me give you a little preview for what these brushes look like. This one's Oil 9. It's very fun. When you're working on with other colors, it's really fun to work with because it blends a little bit. Whereas if it's on like a clean layer, you can just, it kind of works like any old brush. You're working with other colors on top of it, just blends so nicely. It's really creamy and very similar to actual oil, which I love. Oil, this is a brush that's also similar to Oil 9, but I think it's slightly softer. I think it has some smearing qualities to it. And there's watercolor brush, which is very similar to Oil and Oil 9, just a little bit softer. I love blending with those when I do any fun blending. Dense watercolor, I love this guy. So when you do like pictures like this, you can see like light opacity in between it, so it kind of has this watercolor look to it. Just really fun when you blend with it. I think it's pretty good to just like go back and forth. It's great for doing hard edges that aren't like too hard, and it's great for building up colors in a way that's kind of full opacity but not fully. Opaque watercolor, I use this one a lot. It's very nice and bright, so look at that. Let's combine it with this bright blue. I don't really change the brush settings apart from making them all quite hard. I have painted in the past just using this one opaque watercolor brush. Let me find the drawing. Here it is. So I did a study of this photograph here, and I just used opaque watercolor, dense watercolor, and yeah, I think just those two brushes to paint this. And I didn't use an under sketch, so that's why everything's slightly weird proportions. I do like how I painted it. I think the rendering is kind of fun. It's just the proportions are a bit very, very off because I didn't do an under sketch. So what I did for this painting was I did new layers, but every now and then I just merge it down, because when I merge it down, it was a lot easier to blend. So it's kind of like the traditional equivalent of waiting for stuff to dry. If you're working with oils or acrylics, even watercolor actually, and gouache. So basically all painting media, you could paint something new, and then this is the equivalent of it when it's still wet. So you bring another color in, you blend it in. And I guess painting with another layer is the equivalent of, this is dry, let me paint on top of this and not have to worry about this blending with this. So I did a lot of that, and that I really liked doing that when I was painting a lot. More of the story is experiment a lot with painting and drawing and digital art, and there's a reason why it's my go-to word, because I've experimented a lot and I will continue to experiment a lot. Sometimes things just come about by accident and like, oh, I like that, let me try and recreate. I definitely want you all to experiment more. If you take anything away from this video, it's to experiment. I'm begging you to experiment and have fun with art. Here's another drawing where I went ham with brushes. So the line art, I used the usual, my undefeatable brush. For the textures, for this is a halftone texture which comes with Clip Studio, and you will find it here, and I set it to multiply and you'll see it there. I put a gradient overlay on top. Okay, I have a lot of layers. So I made a tone layer. Then what I did to make it a colored one was I clicked on this to set the layer color to pink. And that's why it's pink. And this effect comes with Clip Studio. Yeah, Clip Studio has lots of fun effects you can play around with. It's not just brushes as well. So yeah, check those out too. I will upload some of them into like a nice big zip file for you to have. And what you do with your zip files is you just open it up, you grab the .sut file or the ABR file if you're downloading a Photoshop file, and you just drag it right into here, and then a little loading bar will come up, and then boom, your brushes are installed. So have fun making brushes, have fun installing brushes, and just experiment with digital art. Thank you for watching and have a good time.